The village of Alderwood nestled in a deep valley, protected by ancient, watchful mountains and cradled by whispering pine forests. Life moved with the steady rhythm of seasons and harvests. Predictable and comforting people knew each other's names, each other's stories, and trusted in the familiar patterns of their world. Among them lived Elena, a woman known not for loud words, but for quiet observation and a deep, almost instinctive connection to the subtle shifts in nature around her. She noticed the intricate dance of insects, the specific way leaves trembled before a storm unseen, and the quiet language of the animals that shared their valley while others hurried. Elena often paused, her gaze thoughtful, absorbing details most dismissed as mere background noise to their busy lives. One crisp autumn morning, while walking the high ridge path above the village, Elena witnessed something profoundly unsettling. The sky was unusually clear, yet the air felt thick and heavy, pressing down on her chest. Then she saw them. Hundreds of birds, not migrating in their usual orderly flocks, but erupting from the forest canopy in a chaotic, terrified spiral. Jays screamed, sparrows darted erratically, even the usually sedate owls flapped desperately towards the valley mouth, abandoning their roosts in broad daylight. It wasn't just one species. It was the entire avian population of the ridge fleeing inland, away from the mountains, their panic a silent scream against the blue sky, a cold dread, deeper than any autumn chill, settled in Elena's bones. This felt like a raw, terrified exodus, an omen written in feathers and fear. Returning to Alderwood, breathless with urgency, Elena tried to share her terrifying observation. She spoke to Old Man Hemlock at the mill, to Mayor Thorne outside the council hall, to groups gathered by the warm hearth of the tavern. The birds, they all fled upwards, towards the peaks. Something is terribly wrong in the mountains, she implored, her voice trembling, but her words met only puzzled frowns or dismissive chuckles. Birds get spooked by a fox, Elena, nothing more, Hemlock grunted, continuing his work. Probably just a change in the wind, stirring them up. The mayor offered with a patronizing smile. You worry too much, Elena, came the gentle, yet utterly dismissive refrain from the tavern crowd, always reading signs in the clouds. Her profound unease was reduced to mere eccentricity, her warning lost in the comforting hum of daily routine. In the days that followed, a strange stillness descended upon the valley. The ever-present birdsong Elena cherished was replaced by an eerie, hollow silence. Even the insects seemed subdued. The air remained unnaturally heavy, and the mountain streams, usually lively with meltwater, dwindled to mere trickles, their beds exposed and dry. Small cracks, hairline fractures, appeared overnight in the plaster of older cottages near the base of the slopes. Elena saw it all, the unnatural quiet, the thirsty earth, the subtle groans of the village itself. She pointed out the drying streams, the cracks in walls, the oppressive silence, her voice growing more strained, her eyes wide with fear. No one else seemed to feel yet. The villagers only noticed the pleasant, unseasonably warm afternoons and the convenience of the quieter woods for foraging. They dismissed the cracks as settling houses, the quiet streams as a dry spell. The collective denial was a wall Elena couldn't breach. Then the rain began, not a gentle autumn shower, but a relentless, pounding deluge that fell for 3 days and 3 nights without pause. It hammered the rooftops, turning the village paths into rushing streams of mud, and saturating the already thirsty earth on the steep slopes above Alderwood. The mountains, burdened by the sudden, immense weight of water, groaned under the onslaught. On the 4th night, amidst the deafening roar of the storm, a new sound emerged, a deep, terrifying rumble that vibrated up through the floorboards, shaking the very foundations of the houses. It wasn't thunder, it was the sound of the earth itself tearing apart. A monstrous growl that silenced even the pounding rain. For a heart-stopping moment deep within the saturated slopes, something colossal had given way. Elena, jolted awake by the primordial shudder, didn't hesitate. The ignored omen, the dismissed warnings, the crushing loneliness of being unheard. None of it mattered now. Pure instinct took over. Grabbing a heavy iron ladle, she ran into the drowning night, ignoring the lashing rain, and began beating it against the old oak signpost in the village square with all her strength. The frantic, clanging alarm pierced the storm's roar. Up! Get up! Get to high ground! Now! She screamed, her voice raw with terror, running towards the clustered cottages at the valley's base. Her desperate pounding and shrieks finally cut through the villagers' sleep. Confused, frightened faces appeared at windows, illuminated by flickering lanterns, seeing Elena's utter terror. A terror they finally recognized as real. Instinct kicked in. They scrambled, grabbing children, helping the elderly, fleeing towards the steeper, rocky outcrops behind the village, guided only by Elena's frantic cries and the terrifying, growing rumble from the darkness above. They reached the relative safety of the rocky ledge just as the world behind them dissolved into chaos with a sound like the end of creation. A vast section of the mountainside surrendered to the water's weight, a churning, black tidal wave of mud, rocks, shattered trees, and debris roared down the slope, swallowing the lower quarter of Alderwood whole. The cottages Elena had tried to warn about vanished in an instant, pulverized. Beneath the monstrous flow, the ground shook violently beneath the survivors' feet as they huddled together on the ledge, watching in stunned, horrified silence as the place they called home was partially erased by the hungry earth. The relentless rain mixed with tears of shock and devastating understanding. They had survived, but the cost of ignoring the quiet woman, the cost of dismissing the silent language of the earth and the frantic flight of the birds, lay buried before their eyes in the cold, indifferent mud. In the gray light of dawn, standing amidst the survivors on the scarred ledge overlooking the devastation, Elena felt no triumph, only a profound, hollow grief. The ignored Omen had exacted its terrible price. Homes, memories, a sense of invulnerability were gone. Yet, as the survivors turned to her, their eyes filled with a new, painful awareness and wordless gratitude for her stubborn vigilance. A fragile warmth pierced the numbness. She hadn't been able to make them see, but her relentless care, her refusal to dismiss her own truth, had given them this dawn. The mountains stood scarred, the valley wounded, and the bird song was still absent. But amidst the loss, a fragile seed of shared humanity had been planted, a euro, born from the terrifying clarity of the Omen Everyone Ignored, and the quiet courage of the one who hadn't. The silence now held a different weight, heavy with memory, but also faintly, with the promise of listening more closely to the whispers of the world, and to each other, in the days to come.